Hello, everyone. Marjorie Roman here, and we have another episode of Franchise Your Success, and we have our amazing coach and mentor, Dan Olsen. Thank you for coming today.
Oh, I'm honored to be here as always.
And today we're going to answer, we're doing a little bit of a series now. It's called Ask Coach Dan. And one of the questions that we got from our followers is, am I fundable? And I feel like it comes back to all of the craziness that is going around on the market that we have. People are trying to get into investing, but they see so many obstacles like for getting the financing that they need to get into these investment strategies. So in the case of franchises or franchise businesses, I know that there's something called the SBA. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, Small Business Administration has been around for many years, and they have been very successful at helping lots of people to become successful in their own business by providing a guaranteed way of financing through banks with the government guaranteeing the loan to back it up, which makes it easier for the banks to make it acceptable. There's certain criteria that they have to go through to make it acceptable, of course. But that's one of the easiest ways because it's designed to allow the person starting their business to just almost like buying a home. So if you go in and buy a home and you've got a $200,000 home, and I don't know where you can get that these days, but if you got a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 home and you're putting down the 10 or 15% on the home to buy it, then the funding kicks in for the rest of it, a mortgage in this case. SBA is kind of like that when you're buying a home. It's not necessarily called a mortgage. It's a loan balance that is amortized over usually around 10 years. Instead of a 30-year home loan, you've got about 10 years usually to get through that, maybe a little bit longer in certain circumstances. But you can jump into that for whatever amount you're looking to start your business with, especially in a world of franchises. You're looking at maybe 20 to 25%, maybe as high as 30% as a down payment. So that allows you to get started with a lot lower down payment with the SBA going through a local bank to help fund you and get you started. Now that process can take some time to get through, maybe at least 30 days, sometimes 2 months, 3 months, depending on how fast you get them the information and which type of bank you're working through. I've seen some speed up in as little as 30 days.
Oh, wow.
But that allows you to get things moving forward on your franchise or your business very quickly. And with that security that you know the government is backing you up. And so, of course, you're getting the best rates, lower in origination fees, and allows you to get to your goal much faster through that program.
And when it comes to an SBA loan, what are some of the requirements that someone would need, or does anyone can apply?
Yeah, so first of all, they're going to look at their credit rating. And that's part of any type of loan that you get. And it doesn't have to be perfect credit. This needs to be fairly decent. Now, that will vary from bank to bank on what they look for. Because remember, the SBA or the government is going to back them up. And by the way, there are programs like this in some other countries as well. They're just called different names. So many countries have, I shouldn't say many, there are a few countries that have these specialized loan programs as well to help foster the business community and build businesses. But so the first thing they look for is a credit rating. And the other thing they'll look for is, do you already have cash flow? Now, you're going to think, well, I'm buying a business and that's going to produce my cash flow. And so the SBA should be happy because I'm paying that back through the business. But they're not. They want to make sure that you already have cash flow coming in. So that means you already need to have a job or other business providing some cash flow to that household. So they look for that money coming in the door. So they know that you're secure and you're paying things back. And so you're a very good risk because you do have cash flow coming in. So if you have a job or if you have another business, that's another big thing, and a fairly decent credit rating. The thing that sometimes helps also is to have a home that you're paying a mortgage on. That's very, very helpful. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to tap into that mortgage and use that as security. That doesn't mean that at all. It just helps you get through that process quicker knowing that you have a home. But the cash flow and the credit rating are the two most important things to get through.
That's right. And that's one of the beauties about having a business within the franchise system, because you can literally manage your business semi-absentee. So you don't have to leave that job that is giving you the extra cash flow month to month, so you can actually be considered for an SBA loan. Now, what about the funds that you get from an SBA loan? Are they available immediately, or do you have to wait a certain period of time?
Yeah, it depends on the type of business that you're looking at to get, but usually those are available to you to start working with the tenant improvements or buying the equipment and the things that you'll need. Now, SBA will not fund every aspect of the business. So, for example, it won't necessarily give you operating capital. You'll need to have a little bit of that extra on hand. It won't necessarily give you funds to hire an employee or something like that. That doesn't mean they won't, but doesn't mean they will, and usually they won't. So the SBA funds are usually going for the tangible assets, more like the tenant improvements, the equipment, the furniture and fixtures and things like that, that if need be, they can be sold down the road. But the other thing that the SBA typically will loan on is if you've already paid your franchise fee, a lot of times the SBA will loan that money back to you. So in other words, if you've paid a $45,000 franchise fee, you get that back in your funds. And usually you get that immediately. And then you can take the funds that you've already paid from your franchise fee and use that for some operating capital and things that the SBA typically doesn't loan on because you've already come up with that.
That's right. And I also was doing a little bit of digging on the SBA, and there's something called the SBA Loan Express. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
It's just what it says. It's an express loan. So it's usually designed for a much lower investment. A lot of the franchises that we work with, we don't necessarily work with the big ones where you're going to have to get $1 million worth of a loan. Those are the ones we have a tendency to stay away from because we feel we can get a much better return on a smaller loan amount. So a lot of times the franchises that we work with are between that $200,000 to $300,000 total startup costs. And so those fit very nicely into an express loan where you're maybe only borrowing $150,000 or $120,000. That express loan through the SBA allows you to speed that up. It's just what it says. To less paperwork, less time to get a transaction through, and more money or money in your hands much quicker to get your business started.
How much would it take then in comparison to a regular SBA loan?
As far as time or?
As far as time, yeah.
Yeah, time, I've seen them happen in a little as about 30 days, but maybe it's 45 to 60 days rather than sometimes months.
Wow, that's incredible because it truly is express. No kidding. It's a really good way to get into the world of franchise businesses, especially because in the case of a smaller franchise, you wouldn't need to come up with that much of a capital to get invested into it. Now, what about the money that we don't see that is available, but it is available? Because I know that there's some for audience out there that they may have a house of their own, but there's money sitting there they're not using. Can you tell us a little bit more about that strategy?
Yeah, and what's happening with the housing market in most areas, we've seen significant increases in the last couple of years, especially. But if you've had a house for 3, 4, 5 years, chances are you've built some significant equity in that. I mean, significant. But it's just sitting there. What are you using it for? You just want to sell your house down the road and get all that equity and maybe build something new down the road? That's great. Get a bigger house. But what if you could take some of that right now that's just sitting there and plug it into a business that's going to give you a return back on it, and which is much higher than what you build if you allow it just to continue to grow. And so we're talking here about leverage. We're talking about properly utilizing those funds in something that's going to give you a way better return. So we see a lot of people with the HELOCs, home equity lines of credit, that can go to their bank and they can say, hey, I've got all this equity, and the banks are more than happy to loan that money for you because they make money when you get loans. And that's a sure thing because the equity is sitting there on the house. So they're happy to loan you that money, and then you can pull it out when you need it to invest in the business of your own and how you need it. It's your choice. It's your capital. It's your money. that's been built up in your house. It's just like through the gift of acceleration and home equities, you've been given a gift. And you can take that gift and now put it into something that's going to increase your net worth even faster and produce cash flow by putting it in the proper business.
That's right. And the amazing thing is that sometimes people don't even know that they have those funds available, but they are there. They're just sitting there. I was looking at houses around my neighborhood, how they have doubled in price now. So imagine how much equity they have right now. So the same thing could be happening to your house. So make sure to do your research, because you would be surprised by how much equity you actually have laying there. Now, what about no money down options? What about the rollover as a business startup? Is that also an option when you want to come up with a franchise?
That's a huge option. So when you look at IRAs and 401ks and things that are sitting there, and I remember some of these people when the 2008, 2009 recession hit, and we're probably heading for something like that again. It can't continue. And so we've had inflation, but now recession is on the horizon, it appears to be. So what's going to happen with those 401ks and all that money sitting in there? It's already started to dwindle. And during the 2008, 2009, I saw people that lost 40% of their what was in their balances in just a few weeks. So that's your money. And you have the right to control it. But what happens is you think about wanting to take that out, there's a penalty. But there's ways that we have to actually pull it out without penalties, and you can put it to use before it starts to sink, if that's what's going to happen, and what it appears that it's certainly going to happen. Why not take some of that money out of your retirement, penalty-free, and invest it in something that you control? Because typically it's in the stock market and your mutual funds and things like that. Someone else is controlling that. But what if you turned that around and you took the money out and you controlled your own destiny with the help of mentors, with the help of following a step-by-step system and process, like in the world of franchising, where it's a more sure thing. It's not 100% guaranteed, but it's as high as you can get on a success rate. And the chances are you can increase your network worth and build some cash flow at the same time by pulling out your money and utilizing it for the proper use. Now, you can usually get access to that money in your 401k or whatever it is in about 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And so it doesn't take you a long time to really start something in that process. And so when you talk about no money down too, I mean, there's obviously that's your money, but it's not money that you're counting on right now because you're saving it for retirement. But let's put that to better use by you controlling it. Now, here's one other little thing that one of our advisors can talk to you about is how to build a reserve of credit toward acquiring your own franchise. And this is truly a no money down process. And this is where, as you are part of our program, and as you're continuing to go to school through our program and you're educated, we will help you take those funds that are invested in education through our program and reserve those and match those to put into your own franchise. So talk about the ultimate 401k. I mean, where else can you go to school and they will match the money you put into tuition and fees, in fact, double it, and then you get a chance to pull it out at the end, so you get it all back, and now you get a chance to invest into a franchise or business that will produce cash flow for you. There are none. There's nothing like this program. And so that's something that the details of that, you may want to chat with one of our advisors, because they'll show you how, if you have nothing to your name right now, that you can start building a reserve and credit toward acquiring your own franchise. And that's a true no money down situation of building your own business.
That's right. And there are so many options out there for you to be able to finance your business. There always are. Even if you don't qualify for one, that's okay. There's so many other ones that you can still go and look into. And with the help of the advisors, you can definitely find the one that fits the best for you. Now, what about the case of lines of credits, like any other loans that you can think of that could also help someone finance a franchise?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, I've seen people do it on their credit cards. If they have 3 or 4 credit cards, boom, it's done. You take the cash out of it, or sometimes franchisors will actually take credit cards toward the franchise fee. And they have the ability to do that. You might need 3 or 4, depending on your lines of credit on those. But I've seen people do that. But also, even in today's economic climate, certain banks, credit unions, whatever, are still doing certain signature loans. I've seen people go in, get a signature loan, a couple signature loans, and have the funds there. There are funds that actually will help you pull out your retirement funds and bring those out, but at the same time, they will give you a line of credit in your name automatically along with the retirement funds you get. There are companies like that our advisors can help you align with and get your program through, so that you can not only get a line of credit, but you can also get your funds out of your 401k or other retirement program. But there's other programs, like if you have any types of investments at all in the stock market or whatever, and sometimes not as much, but even in the crypto world, you've got that balance sitting there. There are companies that we can line you up that will loan against those. So now you still keep your investment going, but you're pulling some of the money out and using it to put it into another investment in the form of a business, which increases your assets over here, while your assets are still increasing in the stock market or any other program you have. They'll loan against those. So those are great. And even as talking about a no money down program, I've seen people go to their parents, for example. If you're younger and you don't feel like you have the money, sometimes their parents that have the funds sitting there in the stock market or whatever, you get a loan against their parents' funds and you put it in this business. Their parents' funds still continue to grow, and you're growing your business at the same time. And so everybody's happy. Everybody's pleased, because we have 2 investments growing at the same time, when all we had before was just one sitting in the stock market. And who can tell what's going to happen with that right now?
That's right. And there are always so many different ways. Like, even looking at your network, you could be surprised to see how many people have funds sitting there, even if it's not your parents, let's say your neighbor, or even you go to your church and your pastor or your bishop or whoever, and you look at your network. Even if you're in college, look at your professors, talk to some of them. They may even have some funds that they are thinking about investing, but they have no idea how to do it. Well, no better time to do franchises now. So you can get them involved into that and become partners with them and get them into the world of franchises. Show them that amazing opportunity that they are missing out and that you are providing to them. So that's another no money down right there.
Exactly. When you talk about no money down, over the 30 years I've done this, I've owned several. I've owned over now 12 master franchises. I've owned other single unit franchises, and some of those I've done for no money out of my pocket. So those are the types of things our advisors can help you on. Now, there's always going to be an investment. Every time you start a business, there has to be an investment of either time and money, usually both, because it requires capital to start a business. But there's ways that our advisors can take you through to strategically make something work for you. And that's what we're here for.
That's right. And it doesn't matter which of these methods that we have mentioned you use. I mean, please don't rob a bank. We don't want that. But whichever of these methods that you end up using, there are ways for you to actually finance your business. So yes, you are fundable. Thank you so much again, Dan. And thank you to our audience for tuning into this episode today. See you on the next episode.
Thank you.